Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the Sunday garden question and answer video that I do most Sundays of every month. If you have gardening questions, you can ask them down below this video and I will pick through them each week and pick ones that I think will help the group the most. The first Sunday of every month, I do a Subscriber Sunday video where subscribers send in photos. If you're interested in sending in photos for that, you can use this email address right here and just mark the email subscriber photos or something like that. That's enough of that. I got some good questions from last week. The Wednesday landscape update video this week should be pretty good. I've got quite a few things going on here and I've made some progress on the porch. If you follow me on Instagram, you can follow along with how day-to-day photos before the Wednesday video actually comes around. That's just at HortTube over at Instagram. What else do I have going on? Okay, the upcoming events. This next Sunday, I will put up the question and answer video, but I'll probably shoot it a day early or whatever. But I'm actually going to be in Maryland next Sunday, and I'm going to be at Homestead Gardens in Davidsonville, Maryland next Sunday. My speaking time is at 2 o'clock. Homestead Gardens is doing a spring kickoff thing. There's speakers on Saturday and Sunday. Some good speakers on both days if you're in that. If you're in Maryland or the DC or Northern Virginia area, that should be pretty interesting. I'll be speaking for 30 to 45 minutes and then taking questions after that. But it's a full day of speakers. I plan on being there for most of the speaking sessions on Sunday. Again, that said, Homestead Gardens in Davidsonville, Maryland, next Sunday. Two Saturdays after that, I'll be at a Home Depot in Marietta, Georgia. It's Home Depot number 153 in Marietta. I think that's 10:30 to 12:30. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen. I think it's 10:30 to 12:30 is when I'm at that Home Depot, and I'll be there just answering questions, helping folks out in the garden center there. That's always fun. I did that 2 times last year. I enjoyed both of those. One of them I got to spend the day at a Home Depot with Buddy Lee answering questions for people, so that was kind of fun. Anyway, like I said, that's the 2 appearances I know so far. There's another one later in the month back in Georgia in April as well. I'll update that one next week. And also I'm working on events for Raleigh in the month of May or in the middle of North Carolina, and one of them tentatively I'm working on with Bree Arthur. We're going to do a thing at a brewery where it's going to be called Plants and Pints, I think. Thank you to the person who came up with that name. You know who you are. And it should be a fun time of, at a brewery, planting up some containers and that kind of thing that you'll be able to take home. So working on that tentatively, but that's going to be sometime in the middle of May, and I'll know more about that later. Let's get to the questions. Okay. Somebody asked me about a redbud tree and was concerned about the width. That is a thing with redbuds, is they're going to try to get wide. The upright ones, not the weeping variety, the newer weeping varieties, but most redbuds are going to try to kind of do this over time and get wider. It's pretty easy to control the width for a very long period of time. I think by the time, if you bought a 7-gallon redbud, let's say a forest pansy, which would be one of my favorites. Merlot is another purple foliage one that's one of my favorites. By the time it was so wide it caused you a problem where you couldn't cut it back anymore, it'd be a long, long time from now. So I wouldn't let that bother you. But upright redbuds, the dimensions are like 20 by 20 or 25 by 25, on equal width to height, really. Somebody asked me if they can move a small tree while it's got some flowers on it. If you have a tree that's in the wrong place, get it moved as quick as possible. I wouldn't care if it was in flower or dormant or whatever. You want to get them moved. If it's new, if it hasn't been in the ground that long, it should move without much complaint. The longer you leave it there waiting, the more likely you would be to harm it in the future. Said it had white flowers on it. I don't know if it's a flowering pear of some kind. If the flowers smell terrible, I might do more than move it. I might eradicate it if it's some sort of flowering pear. Let's see, somebody asked me about the best way to remove Bermuda grass or zoysia grass. I guess they're moving into a house. Let's say they sodded, the builder sodded, and now you want to go back in and create some new beds. Almost certainly it's Bermuda and not zoysia. Builders are not going to spend the money on zoysia. Costs a lot more, the sod does. So it's probably Bermuda. The only way you could get it while it was dormant is to use a sod cutter. You'd have to go rent a sod cutter and actually physically cut the sod up and get the roots removed, or let it wake up and then kill it with a chemical, or kill it or cover it for a prolonged period of time. Bermuda grass is going to be, you know, if that's what you have and you're trying to grow beds next to it, just know that it will be a fight. There's very few things that will stop it. You need some sort of solid barrier between your Bermuda grass and your new beds. It's just a continuous concrete thing, and even then, it's going to try to climb over it or even come under it, and you have to stay on top of it constantly. But at least it'd give you a visual barrier that you could see it happening. But good luck. That's what I'll say. Bermuda grass and bed areas are they're pretty tough to work with together. But like I say, dormant, you'd use a sod cutter. When it wakes up, you can kill it with a chemical or cover it. But even covering it sometimes with like clear plastic or something can take a long, long time to kill it. Somebody asked me about Yoimachi camellia. That's a camellia cross. It's a pink and white variety. It's a cross between Fraterna and Sasanqua. And like I say, it's a fragrant one. Blooms like crazy. It's a really nice variety. I think Dr. Parks did that one in Chapel Hill. It gets pretty good size. It's a slow growing like other camellias, but I think it's going to get 6 or 10 feet tall over time. It definitely is a great camellia. Typically those crosses are a little more cold hardy too, but that's Yoimachi. And I think Yoi in Japanese is good and Machi is city. So it's named Good City for some reason. I have no idea. Let me see. Somebody asked me about Thuja plicata or green giant arborvitae versus using emerald arborvitae, which is Thuja occidentalis, which is eastern, or what do they call northern white cedars. That's what they call Thuja, the occidentalis. That's emerald arborvitae, globes. A lot of the different arborvitaes or thujas that you see in stores are going to be eastern. And then green giant is a western arborvitae. Those are definitely more heat and drought tolerant. There's no question. It's not even close. But they all get much, much larger too. So you have to. There's this trade-off there. But here in North Carolina and South, I would not plant an emerald arborvitae as a screen. They're okay on corners of foundations, maybe as container plants. Lots of uses for emerald arborvitae. I would never trust it as a screen or a barrier. I see them constantly. I mean, I wish I had pictures of it to put up right this minute, but where every third one is dead. They're just not drought tolerant at all. Better used in the Northeast and northern areas. But if you're going to trust a conifer as a screening plant, and I just kind of don't trust conifers as screening plants in the Southeast. I prefer leafy evergreens. But if I'm going to trust a conifer, I'm going to trust a western arborvitae like green giant or any of the other cultivars of Thuja plicata. Okay, let's see. Somebody asked me about fertilizing when rain is forecast. And if you use an organic fertilizer, it tends to mat down pretty tight, and I wouldn't worry about it a whole lot. It's not a lot of nitrogen in it, so you're not going to get a lot of runoff, not a lot of instant release. If you're using like a non encapsulated fertilizer, like a 10-10-10 or something like that, I wouldn't want to put that out and have 3 inches of rainfall on it. So based on what you're using. If you're using organic fertilizer, go throw it out. Don't worry about the forecast so much. If you're using other types of fertilizers, yeah, you might not want to put it out. And there's some states like Florida has a blackout period of time in the fall or late summer where you can't use nitrogen because they get so much rain during that time that it ends up washing off. And so there is some concern there. But like I say, if you're using organic fertilizer, it doesn't matter. Let's see. Somebody asked me if it was too early to put out their sweet peas that they had started from seed in Wilmington, North Carolina. That's zone 8. I'm in 7B, almost 8. I'm about a 2-hour drive to Wilmington, North Carolina. No, it's not too early. I already planted my sweet peas here. Sweet peas are fragrant flowering peas that we grow on trellises and that kind of thing. I've planted them along the fence. They were in the landscape update video, I think 2 weeks ago. I don't know that they've come up yet. They'll be in this week's video though. But yeah, I'd go ahead and put them outside in Wilmington. So a couple more here. Somebody asked me about planting and making changes to the landscape for home sales. They had watched my video that I had done before on when I sold my old house. I go super, super basic. I would clean everything up, clean up the debris, you know, roll up hoses, obviously just neaten edges up, neaten beds up, get rid of the weeds. And if you're gonna plant any flowers or anything, make them super neutral colors, things that you think are, you know, showy, the other person might put the other person off. If you're gonna do any planting, I just use green little balls. I wouldn't go with yellow foliage things or purple foliage things or any interesting things, just little green balls, and just have the place neat. And that's the way I would go with on a landscape. You know, if you go big on landscaping right before you leave, I don't know that you'll get it back. I think, you know, somebody might look at it and just not be their thing, or it look like it might be a lot of maintenance. That was one concern I had leaving the other house. Would somebody come in there and look at that and go, "Ooh, this is going to be a lot of work"? And so, you know, make it look basic, make it look like they could improve it very quickly, and that's the way I would go. And neat. Somebody asked me about if they could grow a hydrangea in Zone 9 in Florida, and I think Hydrangea paniculata is probably your friend. That white wedding one that I have planted over here, planted 3 last week, or any of the other Hydrangea paniculatas would work fine. It's 32 degrees out here, and the wind is blowing right this minute. It's actually kind of cold. Okay, so there were a few more questions. If I don't get a lot of questions this week, I'll go back and get a few more for next week's video as well. But like I say, ask questions down below, and I hope to see folks next Sunday. Like I say, the video will go up. I'll put it up in the morning before I go over to that event, but I will be over at Homestead Gardens next Sunday, and I speak from 2 to 3. But like I say, I'll be there most of the day, and there's a lot of interesting speakers, and there's interesting speakers on Saturday there as well. So if you're in that area, I'd love to meet you. Thanks for watching.